Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines here. We got the White House and a crypto advisor who says it is a national security issue to keep crypto at home. You're going to want to hear it. Caitlin Long says, scandal. It's an outright scandal. We'll tell you what. Ripple bolsters its case with a new filing, and we'll hear from John Deaton and Jeremy Hogan on the matter. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter for exclusive content. Right now, $1.22 trillion market cap for crypto. It's off by 0.2%. Good morning, everybody. Bitcoin, 28,300 plus, up 17 plus percent on the 7-day. Ethereum, over $1,800. It's up 8.1 on the 7-day. And we see Tether market cap now 77.6 billion plus. Keep an eye on it. XRP is 39 cents this morning. It's up 3.9 in the 24-hour and just under 7% on the 7-day. Let's get started. Ladies and gentlemen, this is linked to, you got to be accredited, and if you are, you want to take the opportunity to figure out what you're going to get on this platform. Don't mess around. None of it lasts forever, as you can see with PolySign, currently fully subscribed right now. Artificial intelligence is going insane, and they have some incredible offerings on this platform for that, as well as Ripple, which we know we're going to hear from John Deaton, Jeremy Hogan. This stuff does not last long, and how much longer is the window actually open to continue to get Ripple private equity? It could be closing very, very fast. Let's get started here. Uphold says the countdown begins for two major events. March 23rd is Quorium's listing. March 24th is a snapshot for Quorium airdrop. And let me tell you something. I'm going out at the end of this week and flying to LA so I can be there for the Quorium mainnet launch. Shout out to Bob and the entire crew over there. I can't wait to get there and learn more about what's going on with Quorium. I'm very excited about it. And I can't wait to see them and talk to them about what's going to go on at XRP Las Vegas, too, by the way. Make sure you get your tickets. It will sell out. There's no question. Getting close. If you want to get a ticket, you better get your ticket. We'd say Wen says here, this is a little warning to everybody now. Samsung phone owners turn Wi-Fi calling off. Google discovered multiple security flaws with Samsung Galaxy phones that could allow hackers to target devices. All a hacker would need is the victim's phone number, which can be used to compromise the phone without the user knowing anything is wrong. I can tell you right now that I made a decision about a year and a half ago to not do crypto from my phone. And it makes it more difficult for me, but I also feel safer. And this is one of the reasons why. Shout out to We'd Say When for that heads up. Look here. This is Jack Muller's right here talking and professing about Bitcoin. You need to hear it based on the recent information of the Federal Reserve and what they're doing right now. Listen to what he says.
Like the government's going to tell me how the dollar is inflating based on a basket of instruments. Like my Netflix subscription or my Caesar salad doesn't actually tell me how well the dollar is doing or how much it's being devalued. Miami real estate does. Bitcoin does. Bitcoin's up over 50% this year. Yeah. You're telling me that the dollar's not inflating? You're out of your mind. I'm not listening to that. The Fed and the whole monetary system is based on trust, and they constantly break that trust. It'd be the equivalent of there's a fire outside of my house. I smell the smoke, and someone's telling me, no, it's just a bunch of teenagers putting on a bonfire. Okay, but I hear one siren. I hear one police siren. Yeah. Are you sure it's a bonfire? Yeah, it's a bonfire. Now I hear 10 sirens, 100 sirens. Now my whole community is running out. I'm not going to get up and look outside the window, Kelly, and see what's going on. I don't believe them for a second. You've got to be absolutely crazy to believe the Federal Reserve right now. They're full of it, and I don't have to because I own Bitcoin. There's no one that could deflate my instrument. I get to hold it, save in it. I know the monetary policy. I sleep like a baby, like the baby face that I am.
You know, I have to agree with Mr. I here. I smell a setup here. Look here, not there. You know, I got to be honest. Nothing feels safe at this point And to be that overly confident about Bitcoin and think that the federal government or Department of Justice can't come in and rain on that parade, or Congress itself, is just, it's a little short-sighted, and I wouldn't be so braggadocious about it if it was me. Eleanor Tarrant says she asked a source at one of the big crypto exchanges for his thoughts on what's going on in the industry right now. His response was, while the whole industry is happy to finally see a more definitive decoupling from the traditional market, there is very little time for celebration. Most U.S.-based projects and investors are scrambling to plan their move abroad. While global platforms are working to vet non-USD stablecoin projects, a lot has to be done to prepare for the next bull market, whether that's today or a year from now. Well, and in light of that, we know that Coinbase is going to be a part of the first ever crypto-related case in front of the Supreme Court today. Now, this is not an actual crypto-related issue, even though Coinbase is involved in this. What this actually comes down to is about a pair of class action lawsuits that the exchange is attempting to force the plaintiffs into arbitration, and the argument is that that should not be able to happen because it puts the customers in the arbitration at a disadvantage. We will wait to see what comes out of that. But here is President Biden's executive order on crypto, and Carol House, who was a co-author of that bill, or executive order, I should say, and said keeping crypto in the country is a matter of national security. This is what she said. Take a listen.
I also wanted to address our last guest, Custodia CEO Caitlin Long. She said that she believed that there was some sort of coordination among government agencies, the regulators, et cetera, to snuff out crypto firms from the banking system. And there's this whole conspiracy, if you will, called Choke Point 2.0 that is under the belief that there is a force of government policymakers, regulators, et cetera, that want to remove crypto firms from the U.S. banking system. I just want to gather your thoughts on that.
I did hear her remarks, and I always appreciate her perspective as always. I'll say that from my time at the White House, what I saw was really the balanced approach that was pushed in the executive order, which was much more just coordination of the strategic policy objectives to mitigate the significant risk that is seen in crypto, but then also drive the kinds of technological and policy innovations that are needed to achieve their positive potential. So I certainly didn't see evidence of that. The White House does not direct anything with the regulators. By my understanding, certainly not in my role when I was there. But I would just say that I know that it takes a long time for enforcement actions and other things to come to fruition. So some of the things that we have been seeing are just the culmination of many years of work. Otherwise, I think what I've seen has been a balanced approach on one side, trying to mitigate the risk, and on the other side, try to figure out where we can drive the right types of positive technological and policy developments to meet.
Well, there you have it. So she says, no, it's not happening. That's not the way it goes. But you know what? Caitlin Long's doubling down, and I'm excited to hear what she's got. Take a listen to this clip. Caitlin Long from Custodia Bank, who had the door slammed in her face by the Fed. And take a listen to what she says about how Signature Bank and Barney Frank, who said himself at Signature Bank, they were not insolvent when the bank was taken over. And listen what the implications are there.
Property by regulators who did property. Scandal, outright scandal. This is theft of private property by regulators who did not have the authority to take a solvent bank and put it into receivership.
Wow.
And I do suspect that there will be litigation over that. Did the regulators have the right? Again, finally, you're having some of the regulatees be in a position where they can sue the regulators for overreaching but that's what it takes. And the fact that these regulators have not had anyone sue them for decades, they've just grabbed power that they didn't actually have. They've way overstepped their bounds. And if this is correct, and I don't have any reason to doubt Barney Frank, because he did have inside information. He was a director of the company, and he himself admitted that he was a bit of a crypto skeptic. So for him then to say that the regulators put a solvent bank into receivership, I think the stock was trading at something like $40 before it was put into receivership. This was not a stock that went to zero or close to zero. So that is theft of private property, and it's going to be challenged.
If you enjoyed this.
Wow. I tell you, watching this very closely to see what goes on from here. And speaking of watching things closely, there's a new filing and ruling by the end of April is what's being said now. We're talking about Ripple bolstering its efforts by filing the recent ruling and decision and comments based from the Voyager judge, and it's Michael Wiles in the Voyager bankruptcy case, and essentially where Judge Wiles rejected the SEC's objection approved bankruptcy plan. And if we go into this, Jeremy Hogan breaks this down so nicely. Shout out to him, Jim Filan. Shout out to John Deaton, everybody who keeps us up on this stuff. We'd be lost without it. Jeremy says here, Ripple finally filed the Voyager bankruptcy decision, judge's decision. The judges uses abnormally strong language stating that the U.S. regulators themselves cannot even agree on what criteria to use in deciding whether crypto is a security, parentheses, fair notice. We are getting close, he says. It goes down here, and I think we all know what the judge had said here and made it very clear that there is no clarity from the SEC or other regulators, basically. I'm paraphrasing. Jeremy is asked here, Jeremy, do you think the Judge Torres will prolong her decision for summary judgment now this new filing has been made, or it won't affect the timing for her ruling? What a great question from the future is here. I had the same question originally. Jeremy says it won't change the timeline. Music to my ears, and I believe it. And then he comes down here further, and someone asks, thanks for the interpretation. Is always crucial to the whole community. Popping corks or buying diapers. Does a little morsel change your prediction or outcome or percentages? And he says, for me, the Daubert ruling just increased the chances of the case going to a jury trial. I still don't think it will, but a couple of things in there made it seem more likely. Then there was the question here from Johnny Bravo. What's interesting is we have not seen a request to strike the first letter. Now let's see if the SEC requests a strike of this letter. I find it very odd, says Johnny Bravo, considering they know a decision could happen any minute. They don't seem to be in a hurry. Suspicious. Jeremy Hogan says, it is strange that they never replied to that prior case law. I can't explain it. Then he's coming down here and somebody says this waiting is excruciating. How do trial lawyers stand it? And Jeremy says the longest hours are for a jury to come back with a decision. Years of work on the line. That is I can't imagine what that's like. Has anything changed regarding the outcome on this case at this point? It's getting better percentage-wise or worse. He says, well, I thought the Daubert ruling looked good for Ripple. And then someone here says, Sir Jeremy, do you always also expect March 31st? And then he says, well, I guessed the decision by last week, so I'm already wrong. Filan said March 31st, and Deaton is saying anytime between now and mid-April. And he says he does not believe that the decision will be delayed based on the submission of this filing. And being super close, what do you think, Jeremy, by the way? He says definitely a 10 out of a 1 out of 10. And he says, and then this person says, if you're heading the case up for Ripple, would you even settle at this point or continue to press on, basically? And he says Ripple would settle in a heartbeat if the SEC was at all reasonable. And let's see, I think that was about all the comments there. Some of them kind of repeat, but we certainly appreciate Jeremy's insights. I found that to be extremely helpful to me to understand his legal analysis of where things are at the moment. And certainly, as always, John Deaton here, who, noticing that the submission was made here on Voyager's bankruptcy ruling from the judge, he says, I'm hoping Judge Torres was already very aware of the ruling by Judge Wiles of the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the Southern District of New York, same district as Judge Torres in the Voyager bankruptcy, offers the ruling in further support of its fair notice defense. So we get support from both Jeremy Hogan and John Deaton on that understanding of what that could mean and how it could bolster Ripple's chances for the fair notice defense. John Deaton goes on to say here, if Judge Torres in the ongoing working draft of her decision criticizes the SEC's approach and inconsistent behavior's attitude toward digital assets, she can cite to the Voyager ruling as further corroborative evidence of her criticism. As you know, he predicted over a year ago that Judge Torres will rule in favor of Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson. Remember, they're being sued separately from Ripple, the company. He goes on to say, I believe Judge Torres will rule that no reasonable jury could conclude that the two executives were reckless in not knowing XRP was a security when the SEC itself didn't. So there you have it. I mean, this is where we are on this day. And look at this, too, by the way. Let's see where we are with the Atlas line here. This is Egrag Crypto. Give them a follow. Fib channel 0.382 is acting as resistance, he says, but it's pressuring price against the Atlas line, which is a big, heavy line, obviously. So we're right here wondering where it's all going to go. And I have to feel like if we're this close to getting some kind of a ruling, that we're going to need us a line soon here, Egrag Crypto, called court ruling line, right? Well, we're going to need the ruling first, right? But once we get the ruling, it'll be interesting to see where that timeline hits of that court ruling, and we start to watch what happens after that. I think it would be very interesting to see what unfolds, and obviously what the ruling will be. That's going to do it for me. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. We're getting close is right. Any day now. I'll catch all of you on the next one.